Hello guys, and welcome back to HJW Gaming and another video on Age of Empires Mobile. In this video we're going to be taking a look at an amazing free-to-play warrior swordsman march that could form the backbone of both your PVE and PVP conquests going forwards if you are a free-to-play player. Now for me, I've found that this formation has performed incredibly well and of course is completely free. So if you're looking for an army to use and you're not a spender on the game, definitely give this one a try and let me know how you get on. If you find the information in this video useful, please drop a like on the video and please consider subscribing to see more of my Age of Empires content going forwards. But without further ado, straight into the troop formation. Now the first hero we're going to enter into our troop here, and the commander of our formation, is going to be actually the first hero that you receive in the game, and that is Josephine. Now the reason we are using Josephine is of course, as a free-to-play player, the second you open the game, she's the first hero you'll have unlocked, so she will always be forming the original spine of any troop formation that you use. Additionally, her upgrade medals are available from the tavern, so through grinding the game and getting those tavern unlock tokens, we are able to continue to progress Josephine and strengthen her as the server goes on. So you'll see continued growth and strengthening of your formation as the server goes on. And obviously the more you grind and the more of these legendary tokens that you unlock, therefore the more medals you could possibly get, depending on a bit of luck from the tavern pull. And of course the stronger she will get. So definitely a great choice to pick up early on. The reason we are choosing Josephine to be our lead commander is we want to take advantage of the damage available in her commander skill. Now as you can see, Steel Rose here is a pretty decent commander skill, capable of dealing a high instance of single might damage upon the opponent, and it has a very low rage activation chance of 200. Additionally, the skill itself gives you 120 rage initially upon entering a battle. So her first activation of that skill will come very, very early within your battles. So primarily we're putting her in here just for that commander skill to get that increased amount of damage. And then we'll look for our second and third in command to synergize and increase that might damage. Her signature skill, Warcry, again has a reasonable activation chance of 25% and deals a single instance of might damage. So again, we're getting another instance of might damage being dealt by Josephine. In regards to her optional skills, obviously at the beginning you will only have the epic rarity skills, and I would recommend for each of these commanders in your formation to upgrade where possible to one legendary skill on each of them when you obtain the medals. Now you may choose to spend empire coins earned during the game. Usually at the beginning of a server you can earn around 9,000 empire coins per week, so you could pick up a new legendary skill once per week at the cost of 8,000 of these empire medals, or you may even unlock a legendary skill unlock token, in which case you could pick up another skill a little bit sooner. But I'd recommend doing one per each of the three heroes within this warrior swordsman lineup. Now as far as our optional skills go, you have a couple of choices. Josephine's first default epic skill is Sunder, which inflicts an instance of might damage after every normal attack. In addition to that, it also inflicts the rout effect, which inflicts might damage over time. Now this skill can be very good in the correct combination. You'll see this used later on within this formation. However, as we are not going to be lining up the synergy with rout to Josephine, in my opinion Sunder is the skill we'll be looking to replace. When you get your first legendary skill medal and you're looking to replace for Josephine, I would recommend replacing this with weak spot attack. Now weak spot attack, after launching a normal attack you deal an instance of might damage, higher damage than you would get from Sunder, and you also increase your hero's damage by an additional percentage for 3 seconds, meaning for their next attack they deal increased might damage. Josephine's second default epic skill is Infuriation, which again deals might damage after a normal attack to the single enemy troop and increases your might by 23 for 3 seconds. Of course that can be increased by levelling up the skills. But I'd recommend keeping this skill, as again it does deal a good instance of damage and increase her might, so again increases the damage further of your next skill. So this is a perfectly reasonable skill for Josephine. As you get later on in your season and you're looking to replace this with a second legendary skill, along with Weak Spot Attack replacing Sunder, I would recommend using Siege Breaker as the second option. So this is a skill that only activates during siege. After launching a normal attack, she deals a huge amount of damage to city defense. So when you're going into PvP and you're attacking opponents' keeps, this will increase her damage very heavily. However, you could also choose to use double attack, as this has, whilst a low activation chance, you can see behind me, of 8%, when you deal a normal attack, you have a chance of entering the double attack state, meaning you'll deal 2 normal attacks. This synergizes well with Weak Spot Attack, as each of these double strike normal attacks have an opportunity to activate secondary strike skills, of which Weak Spot Attack is one. So you could get increased activation of that Weak Spot Attack, dealing more damage and increasing your might even further. But to begin with, we'd look to just pick up Weak Spot Attack to replace Sunder, and then leave Infuriation for the time being. As a free-to-play player, that will definitely serve you pretty well at the beginning of the game in particular, and you can then look towards building into something else as you go forwards. Now for the second commander in this formation, we are going to take Hammurabi. Hammurabi is again another free-to-play hero, of course, as required in this formation guide. He is available within the tavern again, so whilst you're pulling the tavern hoping to get Josephine coins, you're also looking to hopefully pick up Hammurabi coins as well and get him unlocked. Of course, 10 coins for the full unlock, and then you can from then on use either Hammurabi coins that you get from the from rewards again, or you could look to use your universal coins on him as well. Now, where Josephine was more of an attack and damage based commander, Hammurabi comes in as our support. Of course, as he's not the lead commander, his commander skill is irrelevant here, so we'll look straight into his signature skill. Now his signature skill is Authoritative Code, and this inflicts the rout effect on the target, which we discussed a little bit earlier on, causing them to take might damage over time. And furthermore, it increases your commander's might by a certain percentage as well, and this has a 25% activation chance. Furthermore, this skill falls into the active category, meaning there's a chance for it to be activated each time the hero takes an action. Now this is important when we then look into his optional skills. Overall though, the primary thing we're looking for here is inflicting the rout state upon the opposition, as this synergizes well with our third in command option. But along with that, the rout will actually inflict pretty decent damage on the opposition as well, making sure that you're keeping damage churning out even from Hammurabi himself. Now for Hammurabi's skills, the optional skills, we're going to look at what his 2 epic skills are and what the first legendary skill will look to pick up, which I think the screen is probably giving away. Now, the first epic skill we have available to us is Sunder, which is exactly the same as we saw with Josephine. After dealing a normal attack, chance to inflict rout. This time, we're actually going to keep this skill on Hammurabi. Reason being is we want that rout effect again, this additional chance at rout to go along with his signature skill. So we're going to keep that skill active in that first slot. And then we're going to replace his second commander skill, and this is Crushing Boulder. Now, Crushing Boulder just deals an instance of might damage to an enemy troop, no other benefits here. So instead, we're going to look to replace this with High Spirit. Now, High Spirit is great as it increases the activation chance of the hero's active skills by a certain percentage. Now, of course, as we discussed earlier, his signature skill, Authoritative Code, is an active skill. So we have an increased chance of that active skill activating each turn as a result of High Spirit. So between increased activation chance on Authoritative Code and then also Sunder on top, we're regularly inflicting the rout state upon opposition troops, which is therefore very, very important for our third hero in our formation. Now the third hero in our formation is one that, for anyone who's played the game, will be no surprise at all. It is King Derrick. Now King Derrick should be the staple of nearly every free-to-play formation, particularly at the beginning of the game. He's available in the Giants Raw event, which if you're active and you grind, you can get him up to 5 stars without spending a penny. So he is going to easily be your strongest commander at the beginning of the game, and will likely be, as a free-to-play player, your first 5-star hero. You can see here I'm partway through the event and I've almost already got him to nearly 4 stars. So he's definitely one of the better heroes, and one you should look towards investing in, or at least investing your time in. Skill-wise again, as he's not the commander, we're not going to look at his commander skill. Instead, we are going to focus on his signature skill. Now, his signature skill is the key to unlocking the potential of King Derrick and this formation. His signature skill, Grace and Blessings, has a 28% activation chance and is an active skill. But the main thing it does is deal might damage to the target, so again a good instance of damage. And if the target is in a rout state, increases their might damage taken by a percentage. Now, of course, we've already got 2 skills from Hammurabi that could inflict rout, along with those increased activation chances. So there's a very good chance that the opposition is in the rout state, which therefore means that this damage will very regularly trigger that secondary effect, massively increasing the amount of might damage they take, and therefore meaning that you have enormous amounts of damage output. And this is the synergy that's brilliant between Hammurabi and King Derrick. And we're going to look to further synergize this with his optional skills. To begin with, King Derrick's 2 optional skills are, first up, Efficient Harvest, which increases the gathering speed of all resources by 14%. Whilst very useful for free-to-play players in a gathering formation, it's no use to us here creating a PvP formation. So this is going to be the skill that we look to replace as soon as we pick up our first legendary skill. However, I'll first talk through the second epic skill which he has available at default, and that is, to no one's surprise, Sunder again, which seems to be a staple of the warrior swordsman. Now, we've already discussed about this, but the main thing and the reason we're keeping it is because it again gives an increased chance of the rout effect. So if we can get this skill activating again, we'll again have a chance of triggering that synergy with the signature skill of King Derrick. So we're going to definitely be keeping this skill and replacing Efficient Harvest. When replacing Efficient Harvest, there's a couple of decent choices here, though the main one I would recommend is Earth Crush, and this would definitely be the first one I pick up as far as legendary skills go. The reason for this is it deals a good amount of might damage to the enemy troops, but more importantly, if I move my head, it also inflicts the rout effect once again, giving that great synergy with his signature skill. So if you have Earth Crush and Sunder, as well as the 2 skills on Hammurabi, there is an enormous chance that your opponent is in the rout effect, so you're getting that increased might damage being inflicted upon your opponents very regularly, meaning that you get great synergy here between the 2 commanders and great damage output. Now, when you get a little bit further on and you do again get an extra legendary skill token and you're looking to replace Sunder with a legendary skill, I would look to pick up Righteous Judgment. Reason for this is it deals a very high amount of might damage, can also reduce the might and strategy of your opponent's heroes, meaning that you reduce the amount of damage being dealt to you by them as well. So it is a very strong skill. You lose that little bit of rout effects you get from Sunder, but I think the increased damage and this debuff for the opposition is more important in my opinion. If once you've got one legendary skill on all 3 heroes, you're trying to work out whether you should put a skill extra on Josephine or King Derrick, I would definitely prioritise King Derrick and picking up Righteous Judgment. So there we have it. That will be the final combination. Obviously, with all being warriors and swordsmen, once you get through the talent tree, you will get these large troop bonuses. So you'll be making the most of your troop formation. Now, as a free-to-play player, it's obvious you're not going to be able to get all of these commanders to 5-star early on in the game. And therefore, you want to kind of prioritise which commanders you put your investment into. The aim for this early season build to get that kind of early power spike is definitely to get both Hammurabi and Josephine to their first skill star upgrade, so upgrade them 1 star. And King Derrick, you should be trying to make sure you're nothing less than 5 stars. There's no reason why, if you grind hard enough, you can't get that 5-star upgrade, as it is, as I said, with the Giants Raw event, completely free to play. And he'll form the backbone of all of your formations going forwards as a free-to-play player. So he should definitely be put all the way up to 5 stars. Now, possible replacements for each of these commanders up until you get them unlocked, if you don't have one of these unlocked, is as follows. Josephine, of course, you'll always have unlocked from the beginning, so there's no need to replace her. If you're a mid-spend player, of course, you could choose to use Miyamoto instead, but that'll be covered in another formation guide in the future. Hammurabi, you may get bad luck pulling him out of the tavern and not have him for a little while. I know I personally had that for quite a while, picking up almost 40 Cleopatra medals before I had 10 for Hammurabi. So if you don't get him early on, you could instead look to use Harold. Though if this happens, I would instead change the order of your formation and have instead, if I save here and show again, I would instead put King Derrick after Josephine and then put Harold at the end. The reason for this is Harold does not have any skills that synergize and give the rout effect, so therefore he does not synergize well with King Derrick. He's purely there for dealing additional might damage. So instead we'll put King Derrick after Josephine, as of course her Sunder skill, we'll have to keep the Sunder skill for her then and instead replace Infuriation, but that Sunder skill could inflict the rout effect and synergize a little bit with King Derrick, though not as well as Hammurabi would do. As far as Richard goes, there isn't really a replacement, and again there shouldn't really be need to, as you can unlock him very quickly by participating in the Giant's Roar event. If looking to use universal tokens, I would recommend investing these into Hammurabi. The reason being is Hammurabi also features in some of the late game free-to-play swordsman builds as well. In future, once you obtain Trebwana and Yodit as well, those do replace Josephine and King Derrick, whereas Hammurabi still remains. So if you're looking to push up a singular commander, Hammurabi should be the one that you choose. However, it's more likely that instead that King Derrick would feature in this free-to-play formation, so if you don't get him to 5 stars through the event, or perhaps you're very close to 5 stars, instead use the universal tokens on him, then put them into Hammurabi. As far as gems that synergize with each of these commanders, you should be prioritising gems that increase the might of your commanders, or you could also increase commander damage as well. Those would be the 2 gems that I would recommend that synergize well with this formation. As you progress through the talent tree of each of these 3 heroes, make sure you're prioritising increases in might and also commander skill damage, just to make sure we're inflicting as much damage as possible. As all 3 commanders are might based, we want to be increasing that as much as possible. Now with that, that's everything I had to offer. Give this formation a try and let me know how this gets on for you. I've certainly seen some great success from this before I switched into a slightly more mid-spend version. Hopefully you guys, if you are free to play, give this a go and find this very, very enjoyable. Without further ado, I've been HJW Gaming, and I really hope to see you on the next one.